What if the most dangerous person in the room isn't the loudest, but the one who truly sees? What if the one everyone ignores holds a wisdom that could change everything? This isn't just a story, it's a mirror reflecting the profound strength within those who navigate the world with a quiet heart and a deep soul. History often glorifies the boisterous, the men and women who shout commands, declare their strength, and fill the air with promises, threats, and noise. We are taught to fear the overt display of power, the grand gestures that demand attention. But history, in its haste, rarely warns us about the quiet ones. The quiet ones do not rush to speak, for they understand the weight of words. They do not argue to prove themselves, for their truth is an internal compass. They do not fight for attention, for their focus is on observation, not performance. They watch, they listen, they wait. And when they finally move, it is often with a precision and impact that leaves others wondering how they missed the signs. This is not a story about talent or luck. It's not even about intelligence in the way schools define it. This is a story about a kind of strength most people misunderstand, a power so subtle that society often mistakes it for weakness. It's a strength that grows in silence, feeds on patience, and reveals itself only when the moment is unavoidable, when authenticity is paramount. This is the story of a boy who was underestimated by everyone, a soul laughed at, dismissed, and overlooked. A boy who did not speak loudly, yet changed his destiny without ever raising his voice. And before you decide this story is not about you, ask yourself one question. Have you ever been told you are too quiet? If you have, then listen carefully. Because this story may explain why your silence is not your flaw, but your profound edge. If this kind of story resonates with your spirit, if you are drawn to depth, meaning, and the quiet strength that transforms lives, subscribe to this channel. Your support gives us the motivation to continue creating stories that don't chase noise, but build true, lasting power. Now, listen closely. In a small town, not far from the king's palace, lived a boy named Rohan. At first glance, there was nothing remarkable about him. No striking appearance, no loud confidence, no talent that demanded applause. And yet, Rohan was different. Not because of what he did, but because of what he refused to do. He did not shout when others shouted, understanding the futility of adding to the cacophony. He did not compete for attention, for his inner world was far more captivating. He did not speak simply to be heard, but only when his words carried genuine purpose. When other children argued, Rohan listened, not just to their words, but to the underlying emotions, the unspoken fears. When others boasted about their strength, Rohan observed their insecurities, sensing the fragile ego beneath the bravado. When the streets filled with laughter, insults, and noise, Rohan drifted away, not out of sadness, but out of a profound preference for peace, a need to protect his sensitive spirit from overwhelming energies. He often sat by the river, watching the way water moved around stones instead of fighting them, a silent lesson in adaptability. He listened to birds before they took flight, attuned to the subtle shifts in nature. He felt the wind change before the rain arrived, his intuition a finely tuned instrument. To most people, this looked like nothing. To Rohan, it was everything, a symphony of life, a constant source of wisdom. But the world rarely rewards what it does not understand, especially the deep, quiet wisdom of an empath. Why doesn't he talk? He's strange. He must be weak. He must be slow. Whispers followed him wherever he went, each one a tiny sting to his sensitive heart. Even teachers misunderstood him. They saw his silence as a lack of intelligence, confusing speed with wisdom, and noise with confidence. Rohan was rarely praised, rarely chosen, rarely noticed. And yet, something inside him remained calm, a steady flame in the face of misunderstanding. Because Rohan had already learned a truth most people never do: not every battle is meant to be fought with words. Not every moment requires a response. And not every opinion deserves your precious energy. While others tried to dominate their surroundings, Rohan was learning how the world actually worked, not through force, but through understanding. He noticed patterns, he sensed rhythms, he understood timing. And most importantly, he understood himself, his unique way of processing the world. Rohan heard the insults. He felt the judgment. He knew exactly how people saw him, how they mislabeled his quiet nature. But he never tried to correct them. Not because he was afraid, but because he was disciplined, choosing his battles wisely. He understood something deeply uncomfortable for most people: arguing rarely changes minds. Explaining yourself rarely earns genuine respect. And reacting emotionally gives your power away, draining your vital energy. So Rohan chose silence. But his silence was not emptiness. It was not confusion. It was not submission. It was containment, a sacred space where his true self could flourish. Inside that silence lived questions others never asked, insights others never sought. Inside that silence lived patience others never practiced, a deep well of resilience. Inside that silence lived an awareness others never developed, a profound connection to the subtle energies of life. Rohan watched how people revealed themselves when they thought no one was paying attention. He learned that the loudest voice often hid the deepest insecurity, a desperate plea for validation. That impatience made people predictable, their actions driven by fleeting desires. And that ego blinded them to reality, preventing true growth. Nature became his greatest teacher, a constant source of profound lessons. He saw that the tallest trees did not grow overnight, but through years of silent, steady growth. That the strongest currents flowed beneath calm surfaces, their power unseen but undeniable. That storms always announced themselves with bluster, but earthquakes never did, their impact sudden and transformative. And slowly, quietly, without ceremony, Rohan came to understand a fundamental law of life. True power does not rush. True power does not beg for attention. True power waits, observing, learning, preparing. While others wasted energy proving who they were, Rohan invested energy becoming who he needed to be, cultivating his inner landscape. He was not preparing for applause, he was preparing for responsibility, for the moments when his unique strength would be called upon. And though the town could not see it, though no one applauded his restraint or rewarded his patience, Rohan was changing, becoming something dangerous in the best possible way. Because the most underestimated person is often the most prepared, the one whose quiet strength has been forged in the fires of self-awareness. And one day, the world would test everything Rohan had built in silence. For those of us who feel deeply, who absorb the world's energies like a sponge, our sensitivity is often perceived as a vulnerability. Yet, Rohan's journey reveals a profound truth. This very sensitivity is our superpower. It allows us to perceive nuances others miss, to feel the undercurrents of emotion, to intuit truths that lie beneath the surface. This isn't a weakness, it's an advanced form of perception, a gift that allows for deeper understanding and more authentic connection. Rohan's quiet observation wasn't passive, it was an active engagement with the world on a vibrational level. He wasn't just seeing, he was sensing. He wasn't just hearing, he was feeling. This intuitive edge allowed him to understand motivations, predict outcomes, and navigate complex situations with an almost uncanny foresight. For empaths, this inner knowing is a compass, guiding us through the noise and chaos, helping us discern what is true and what is merely superficial. Embracing this sensitivity, rather than trying to suppress it, unlocks a profound source of wisdom and resilience. It allows us to connect with our authentic selves and to lead with compassion and insight. Rohan's story is a powerful reminder that personal growth is not always a loud, public declaration. Often, the most profound transformations happen in the quiet spaces within us. Cultivating your inner landscape means dedicating time to self-reflection, to understanding your own emotions, your values, and your unique strengths. It means creating boundaries to protect your energy, especially if you are an empath, allowing you to process and recharge without constant external interference. This journey of self-mastery is about building an unshakable foundation within yourself. It's about learning to trust your intuition, to honor your quiet nature, and to recognize that your sensitivity is a source of profound insight, not a burden. When you invest in your inner world, you develop a resilience that no external challenge can diminish. You become grounded, centered, and capable of navigating life's complexities with grace and wisdom. This is the path to authentic power, a power that emanates from within and inspires those around you, not through force, but through genuine presence. The day came when the king faced a crisis. A neighboring kingdom, led by a boastful, aggressive ruler, threatened war. The king's advisors, all loud and confident men, offered conflicting strategies, each vying for attention, each convinced of their own brilliance. The council chamber was a cacophony of voices, a storm of ego and fear. The king, overwhelmed, felt the weight of his kingdom pressing down. In the midst of this chaos, Rohan, now a young man, stood silently in the corner, an unnoticed observer. He had been brought in by a junior advisor who had once witnessed Rohan's quiet wisdom. While others spoke, Rohan listened, not just to the words, but to the fear in their voices, the desperation in their eyes. He saw the flaws in their plans, the hidden agendas, the lack of true understanding of the enemy. He had spent years observing, learning, understanding the subtle dance of power and human nature. When the king, in exasperation, finally asked if anyone else had a perspective, the room fell silent. All eyes turned to Rohan, who had not uttered a single word. His voice, when it came, was calm, clear, and measured. He spoke not of grand battles or heroic charges, but of patterns, of the enemy's true motivations, of the subtle currents of diplomacy and human psychology. He proposed a solution that was not about brute force, but about strategic patience, about understanding the opponent's weaknesses and leveraging their own arrogance against them. His words were few, but each one carried the weight of years of silent observation, of deep insight. The king, weary of noise, found solace in Rohan's quiet confidence. He saw not a boy, but a sage. He heard not a suggestion, but a profound truth. Rohan's plan was implemented. The war was averted, not through bloodshed, but through a masterful display of strategy and understanding. The boastful king was outmaneuvered, his own ego his undoing. The town, which had once dismissed Rohan, now hailed him as a hero. They finally understood that his silence was not a void, but a reservoir of strength, a wellspring of wisdom. Rohan, the quiet boy, had changed his destiny, and the destiny of his kingdom, without ever raising his voice. His story is a testament to the power that lies within, waiting to be discovered, cultivated, and unleashed. Before we conclude this story, here is a question for you. Think carefully. Which one do you believe is stronger? A. Speaking loudly to prove your strength. B. Remaining silent while mastering yourself. Comment A or B below. Your answer says more about you than you might realize. This story is a beacon for every empath, every quiet soul, every individual who has ever felt misunderstood for their depth. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it is a profound gift. Your quiet nature is not a weakness, it is a source of immense power. It allows you to observe, to understand, to connect with the world on a level others can only dream of. It's time to embrace your authentic self, to cultivate your inner sanctuary, and to trust the wisdom that resides within your quiet heart. Don't let the noise of the world diminish your light. Instead, let your silence become your strength, your intuition your guide, and your empathy your superpower. Start today by dedicating moments to quiet reflection, by honoring your need for peace, and by recognizing the extraordinary power that lies in simply being you. Your journey of personal growth begins when you truly listen to the whispers of your own soul.